Yes, I come over.
Okay, good. Another pop-up message to say that internet connection is unstable, but let's work with what we have. Let's just work with what we have. Okay, ons het nog nie vir summary terug nie, maar dis nie issue nie. Ons kan net met wanneer hy terugkom. People, where left off is on question 5 and the influence that that modern technology has had on how on specifically our productivity as salespeople. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pre-recorded session on this brief anyway, which I think is always good to have because you can read, you can watch it again at any time in preparation for completing your assignment. And then I'm going to include in that also the rubric for this particular essay, just to make sure that you know how your 30 marks are broken up into, and how many marks for your introduction, how many for the text, what do I want in the text. Usually that's the facts and the motivation, and then the final conclusion. So that's the 3 important elements that needs to be in any essay anyway, but I will include that in a video for you guys too. I'm making a note here as we speak. SOD brief pre-recording, and then the rubric for F4. And then I think briefly before the, when we had a short session just before the test series, I said to you that for question 6, we're going to break you up into groups, or not groups. It's still an individual assignment, but you are going to conduct the interview with a prospective candidate. I think that what we do is, because the assignment is due on the 14th, and you guys are not coming back to campus these 3 weeks, what I suggest that we do is we schedule Zoom sessions, and we give each of the students an opportunity to then invite the others, okay? On that day, I'll be on campus, obviously, and Jack would be here as well. So I will get an invite for the Zoom session because I have to evaluate the session. And then each of you take turns to interview as a group. Let's say, for instance, Zach is here for the interview. So in other words, you 3 and me are all in the Zoom session, and we are interviewing. We're the interviewing panel. But you 3 ask the questions because I'm just there to assess the whole session, okay? And Zachary is the candidate, and then we take turns. Then Zach joins the group, and one of you are the one that's being interviewed. So let's do interviews in that regard, because it's also, I would like to know, conduct the interview with the prospect that you have now covered in the rest of the assignment. Okay, it's going to be short. Are you confused? Obviously, okay, for those who didn't hear, Zach asked a very relevant question here. Are we providing a script? No, we're not providing a script, but in your preparation, remember, it's an individual assignment. So for you to get your 12 marks, you have to conduct an interview. So I want the student, I want the person who's doing the interviewing, I want that person to obviously draft a script. The script will be related to this financial advisory job of Sanlam. It's not a different job that you're applying for now. We're still sticking with the theme. So it's still the the text that you have, your case study, the financial advisory position at Sanlam, you are going to draft an interview with the candidate. You're going to keep that draft, and when we go live, so to speak, you will ask the question to a candidate. Okay. And so the person who's the interviewer is the person who's going to draft the script. Okay. You're also going to include that script for me as part of the assignment. Okay. This is section of question 6. It's not just an interview. You're going to draft it to me, include it in question 6. This is the script that you're going to follow. But on that day, to complete the section, to get the full 12 marks, we're going to allow you for 5 minutes just to go through the questions. The person that you're interviewing knows, because he's also in part of this group, that the job that they've applied for is this financial advisor position. So they come prepared. You ask questions, and you ask the questions that you want to know from that client. Okay. The question, yes, because this particular section, question 6, is about the question itself. It's about the interview. What do you want to know from the candidate? I know that when I was, and I'll give you a hint here, when you to help you with drafting to draft a script. When I did a lot of interviews, and I was asked to sit in on a panel to conduct a lot of interviews for jobs at different companies, and especially when I was still involved with my previous college, with Virgin Active. So when I got to, usually what I did when it was my turn to ask questions as part of the interviewing panel or recruiting panel, I said to the student, I believe that the facts in your CV is correct, that you have the qualification, that the people who had to verify it has verified that. I want to know, can you do the job? You've applied for a job as, in this case, financial advisor. So why don't you come join me? Yeah. And I've prepared something on a computer for you. What will the financial advisor be doing? And I have a simple thing that they have to do that's related to their job, and I want to see if they can do it. They said to me they are Excel sufficient and Word and whatever, and they well, now prove it to me. It's like another interview I did at Woodland Cricket, for instance. The guy came for an interview for under 13 position as a coach, and I said to him, listen, well, I'm not even going to check and see if you've got a level 2. I assume you have a level 2 because that's a minimum requirement. Those are the boys over there, those 17 that you see in the nets over there. Go and coach. You're applying for a coaching job. I want to see if you can coach. So when you draft your questions, make sure that the questions that you draft are not just straightforward generic questions related to the information that you have already. Bring in something else. Try and find questions that will allow you to get to know the person better, because the information is there. Qualifications, boom, they've got it. Don't ask him, I mean, I see you stay in Lorraine Estate in Kraaifontein. How's it there? Well, that's got nothing to do with you. It tells you a bit more about the person he is, but guys, everybody, you understand what I'm getting at? Make sure that the questions, it's 5 minutes, people. And then also, as the person who's being interviewed, don't give me your life story. You only have 5 minutes. Okay. So we're not going to prepare as the candidate being interviewed. You're not going to be unprepared. The only thing that you know is that the job that you've applied for is a financial advisor at Sanlam. And you should, in your preparation, at least do some research, because you don't know what questions to expect. So prepare yourself with subject-related questions for the position, but we're not going to give you the script in advance and say, listen, these are the questions we're going to ask. because we want to know how you're going to react. But again, don't ask silly questions about what's your opinion about Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's very contentious, people. You don't ask somebody that in an interview. You ask that on a different platform. Okay, so make sure that the questions are related to more sort of whatever will allow you to gather more information about the individual, their abilities, their personality, than the actual job itself. Because to ask a similar question, do you think you're the right candidate for the job? I don't know. Of course, I think I'm the right person for the job, but I'm not. I'm being interviewed. I'm applying for this job. I'm not interviewing the candidates. Okay, so make sure that whatever questions you ask in your script is more along the line of getting to know the candidate better. Okay, but again, we'll have. I had a look at the timetable. We have enough time to complete everything for this term, including within the 2 weeks leading up to the completion of the assignment. So at any point during any of the sessions that we have, you're more than welcome to. So these are some questions. What do you think? Okay, run it past me. Don't wait and submit it and then later on say, oh, geez, I shouldn't have asked that question. Okay, we're going to do a lot of discussions, and at any point, a question related to assessment that still needs to be done is relevant question, regardless if it's covered in that particular chapter. But I think once we get to that chapter, I think it's chapter 14, but it could be 15. Once we get to that chapter within the next week, ask me that question at that point if it comes to mind. Okay. Zach, any questions?
Not really. So I think I want to say that is my understanding of questions. For example, now, like the 14th, now we've been through the thing. Now you see 3 against like 1, but now obviously, for example, now it's in the so many on other side we are interviewing or planning. So we all see it like our chance to like ask the question.
I think let's
like each answer like second question I ask mine
let's not get too much into the logistics of that yet, but I think let me take a day to think about the format. Or what I can do for a session like that is we can have one person being the candidate that's being interviewed, and then they are a panel of interviewers, and each of them have a question to ask, and then we're done with one candidate, and then see what I'm getting at, as to just being a one-on-one. Exactly. I think that's probably going to be a better format, because then everybody's involved in everybody's interview. Exactly, and that's the other reason why. And then you're going to end up with asking the same question. So let's have different questions, and let's have all 3 people who's interviewing, that they all be part of a panel of interviewers, and the one candidate answering the questions, and each of them have a question to ask, because you end up asking 3 questions anyway, because you'll be interviewing the other candidates too as part of the panel. Okay, so I will formalize that and I'll just put it in writing. Wat gaan man julle aan as julle nou so stil is? Verstaan jy daai Christian? Unstable internet connection.
Meneer het nou opgebreek, zeg alweer.
Any questions?
Nee, meneer het gevra, verstaan ek, dus ek het meneer het opgebreek, so nee, ek het nie gehoor nie.
Okay, what I was saying is I'm going to formalize still the format of that question 6, the interview of the candidate. My mind plays with the idea of me and the 3 of you, me being the observer and the assessor, you 3 being the panel of representing Sanlam, interviewing Zachary. You each have a question that you ask him in that Zoom session, and then that interview is done. And then we repeat it for, let's say, Christian. Now Zachary becomes part of the panel and Christian is being interviewed. Now, Annika becomes the candidate, and Christian is back on the panel. So each get 3 questions that they have to prepare to ask for 3 different candidates. That format, I think, is the best one where everybody remains involved in all the sessions, and it's just 5 minutes, really. It doesn't take that much effort for us to complete. What do you think about that? Is that going to work? Do you think that's going to work?
As meneer sê dit gaan werk, dan is dit reg.
Hierdie meneer het 'n paar goed gesê wat nie gewerk het, so wees versigtig, hoor.
Ja, okay, wanneer is dit nou? Wanneer moet ons dit doen? Of wat doen ook al?
Ons doen dit op die dag wat ons die assignment ingee, die 14de.
Okay, dan die laaste vraag nou.
Nee, kom ons stel dit so. Nee. Kom ek maak dit so. Want jou vraag wat jy vra, ons gaan nog 'n paar besprekings hê hieroor voor die 14de, Christian, en ek dink ons gaan dit dalk sommer by donderdag se sessie hê. Nee, môre se sessie kan dit dalk selfs wees. Kom ons gooi 'n paar idees rond. Die rede hoekom ek dit sê is dat jy moet jou skrip wat jy gaan gebruik vir jou interview moet ingesluit wees in jou assignment. So ja, ons kan dit doen op die 14de. Die 14de is môre oor 2 weke. Kom ons maak dit. Kom ons kyk hoe vorder dit en dan sê julle vir my teen volgende week hierdie tyd hoe julle gevorder het met julle assignment. Ons mag dit dalk selfs die 13de doen. Die rede hoekom ek dit sê is as ek reg onthou is die 13de is die dubbelperiode, dan het ons nie 'n tydbeperking ten opsigte van dit nie, want as jy net 1 periode het, maar 1 periode behoort genoeg te wees. Ja, 1 periode is genoeg om die interviews te doen. Ons hou by die 14de. So die interviews gaan die 14de plaasvind. Jy gaan mos in elk geval op daai selfde dag jou assignment submit op dit doen. So die interviews vind ook die 14de plaas. Maar moenie julle oor die logistiek net te veel worry nie, ek sal daai hanteer.
Okay. Ja, want ek weet nog nie eens wat hel is die vraag dan, so ja.
Okay, ek stel voor met die tyd wat daar beskikbaar is, gebruik dit. Right. Anybody any questions still about the assignment? No questions?
Nee meneer, nog nie oor die taak.
Nie oor hierdie taakie. Wat 'n taak kan? Wat een van my take of nee, nie een van my take nie, dit weet ek.
Nee, MCD, ander taak.
Luister, ek gaan gou vinnig soek na ietsie wat ek vir julle ons gaan gou vinnig. Wanneer as hierdie sessie begin net na 1:30, né? Ja. Ons is ietsie langer as 'n uur besig op die oomblik. Let as wil julle gou vinnig 'n 2 minute breek vat?
Kan werk, hoe lank? Hoe laat klok ons weer?
Ons maak dit 15:15.
Okay, reg.
Okay, sien na 15:15 en dan gaan ons gou vinnig na die volgende hoofstuk toe van die werk wat ek dink spesifiek gaan oor internet en e-commerce en al daai goeders. Okay, I'll see you guys in 5 minutes.
Meneer, serieus.